The stars outside the window looked like scattered diamonds on black cloth. Captain Yuna Park stood on the bridge of her ship, the horizon's edge, and watched them in silence. She had been watching stars for 12 years now, ever since she first left Earth, but she never got tired of seeing them. The horizon's edge was not a beautiful ship. It was old. It had scratches and dents on its metal body. The paint was fading in some places, but it flew well, and it was home. Home for Yuna and her small crew of 4 humans who lived and worked together in the cold emptiness of space. A soft sound came from behind her. Yuna smiled without turning around. She knew that sound very well. "Good morning, Nabi," she said. A small orange cat walked across the bridge floor. Her fur was the color of sunset, with thin white stripes on her legs. She was not a big cat. She was small and soft and very gentle. She jumped up onto the captain's chair and sat there like she owned it. In many ways, she did. Nabi meant butterfly in the old Korean language. Yuna had named her that because when Nabi was a kitten, she used to chase everything that moved, jumping and spinning like a butterfly in the wind. Now, Nabi was 5 years old, calmer, but still curious about everything. The door behind Yuna opened with a hiss. Lieutenant Taewoo Kang walked in, holding 2 cups of coffee. He was a tall man with a serious face and quiet eyes. He had been a soldier before joining Yuna's crew. He did not talk much, but when he did, people listened. "Captain," he said, handing her 1 cup, "we will reach Kethis 7 in 3 hours. "Good," Yuna said, taking the coffee. "We need supplies. The food storage is getting low." Taewoo looked at Nabi sitting on the captain's chair. For Taewoo, that was almost a smile. "She took your seat again," he said. "She always does," Yuna replied. "I stopped fighting that battle years ago." Kethis 7 was an orbital station, a massive structure floating in space where ships from many worlds came to trade, rest, and resupply. The Galactic Confederation had built it 200 years ago. Over 400 different alien species used it. Humans had only been part of the Confederation for 60 years, and many aliens still did not know what to think of them. Humans came from Earth, a planet that most aliens considered terrifying. Earth had strong gravity that crushed weaker species. It had storms that could destroy cities. It had oceans full of monsters and lands filled with predators. The air carried diseases. The plants could be poison. Everything on Earth was trying to survive by killing something else. The aliens called Earth a death world, and they called humans Deathworlders. Most species stayed away from humans. They were polite, but distant. They feared what humans could do, what humans could survive. A human could fall from a height that would kill most aliens and just get up and walk away. A human could lose a limb and keep fighting. A human could go days without sleep, without food, without water, and still function. But what scared the aliens most was not the human body. It was the human heart. Humans formed bonds, deep, powerful bonds with their families, their friends, their crews, and when those bonds were threatened, humans became something else entirely, something dangerous. The door opened again, and Suman Beck came running in. She was young, only 24, with short black hair and bright eyes that were always excited about something. She was the ship's engineer, and she was very good at her job. She could fix anything. "Captain," she said, slightly out of breath, "I finished repairing the water recycler. It should work perfectly now." "Good work, Suman," Yuna said. Suman's eyes found Nabi on the chair. Her whole face lit up like a child seeing candy. "Nabi," she squealed, rushing over to pick up the cat. Nabi allowed herself to be held, purring loudly as Suman rubbed her chin. "Who is the prettiest girl in the whole galaxy? You are. Yes, you are." Taewoo watched this with his usual blank expression. "She talks to the cat more than she talks to us." "Can you blame her?" said a new voice. Junho Choi walked onto the bridge, a medical tablet in his hands. He was the ship's doctor. a calm man in his 40s, with kind eyes and gray hair at his temples. He was the oldest member of the crew, and often the wisest. She does not argue about taking her medicine. I take my medicine, Tae-woo said. After I chase you through 3 corridors, Junho replied. Yuna laughed. This was her crew, her family. They were not related by blood, but that did not matter. They had chosen each other. They had survived together, celebrated together, mourned together. Out here in the darkness between stars, they were all each other had. And Nabi was part of that family. She had been with them for 5 years. She slept in different beds each night, moving between crew members like she was making sure everyone got their fair share of her company. She sat on the bridge during flights, watching the stars with curious yellow eyes. She greeted everyone at breakfast and demanded treats after dinner. Some aliens found it strange that humans kept animals as companions. They could not understand why humans would share their living space with creatures that could not speak, could not work, could not contribute anything practical. But those aliens did not understand what Nabi gave to the crew. She gave them comfort. She gave them something soft and warm to hold when the universe felt too cold. She reminded them of Earth, of home, of a world where life was hard, but also beautiful. When Suman was stressed about a difficult repair, Nabi would sit on her lap and purr until she felt better. When Junho had bad dreams about patients he could not save, Nabi would curl up next to his pillow. When Tae-woo sat alone in the dark, remembering wars he wanted to forget, Nabi would press her head against his hand. She asked for nothing but food and love, and in return, she gave them peace. The horizon's edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel 3 hours later, just as Tae-woo had predicted. Kethis 7 appeared on the view screen. A huge metal wheel spinning slowly against the backdrop of a purple nebula. Hundreds of ships surrounded it like bees around a hive. Lights blinked everywhere. Kethis 7 Station Control. This is cargo vessel Horizon's Edge, requesting permission to dock. Yuna said into the communication system. A robotic voice answered. Horizon's Edge, you are cleared for docking bay 47. Welcome to Kethis 7. Yuna guided the ship toward the station. Behind her, Suman was still holding Nabi, showing her the view through the window. Look, Nabi, Suman whispered. We are going to explore a new place. Maybe I will take you for a walk. Would you like that? Nabi meowed softly, as if she understood. None of them knew that this station would change their lives forever. None of them knew that in just a few hours, their world would break apart. None of them knew that Nabi, this small and gentle cat, would become the reason for an event that the galaxy would never forget. For now, they were just happy to be together. For now, everything was peaceful. It would not stay that way. Kethis 7 was alive with movement and noise. Thousands of aliens walked through its wide corridors, buying and selling, talking and arguing. The air smelled strange, a mix of foods and perfumes from 100 different worlds. Lights of every color flashed from shop signs. Music played from somewhere far away. Suman walked slowly through the commercial district, her eyes wide with wonder. She had visited many stations before, but she never got tired of seeing new places. Everything was interesting to her. The strange fruits in the food stalls, the glowing crystals in the jewelry shops, the alien children playing games she did not understand. But she was not alone. Walking beside her, attached to a small harness and leash, was Nabi. The captain had given Suman permission to take Nabi for a short walk. It was a rare treat. Nabi spent most of her life inside the ship, and sometimes Suman thought the cat needed to see something different, to feel new ground under her soft paws. Nabi walked carefully, her orange tail held high. Her yellow eyes moved constantly, looking at everything. She was not scared. She was curious. Every few steps, she would stop to sniff something, and Sumin would wait patiently until Nabi was ready to move again. Aliens passing by stopped to stare. Many of them had never seen an Earth cat before. Some looked curious. Some looked afraid. A few made sounds of disgust and walked faster. Sumin did not care. Let them stare. Let them whisper. Nabi was beautiful, and Sumin was proud to walk with her. They passed a fountain made of floating water droplets that hung in the air like frozen rain. Nabi watched it with great interest, her head tilting from side to side. Sumin laughed and took a photo with her personal device. "You are so cute," she said to Nabi. "I will show this to everyone on the ship." They walked for another 20 minutes, enjoying the sights. Sumin bought a small snack from a food stall and shared a tiny piece with Nabi. The cat ate it carefully, then licked her lips and looked up at Sumin, asking for more. "No more," Sumin said gently. "Too much strange food is bad for your stomach. Junho will get angry at me." Nabi meowed in protest but did not push further. They were about to turn back toward the docking bay when Sumin heard heavy footsteps behind her. She turned and felt her heart freeze in her chest. Walking toward her was a tall alien, almost 2 meters high. The alien had a body like an insect, with hard black armor covering her limbs and torso. 4 arms extended from her shoulders, each one ending in sharp blade-like fingers. Her head was narrow and angular, with large red eyes that showed no warmth. She wore a military uniform with many medals on her chest. Behind the alien walked 4 soldiers, also in uniform, also armed. They were Noravi, from the Noravi Dominion. They were a proud and aggressive people who believed they were superior to most other species. They had joined the Confederation long ago, but they never truly accepted other races as equals. The tall alien stopped in front of Sumin. Her red eyes looked down at the young human with clear disgust. "A Deathworlder," the alien said. Her voice was cold and sharp, like metal scraping against metal. "And what is this creature?" Sumin held Nabi closer. "This is my cat. Her name is Nabi." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "A cat. Yes, I have heard of these. Primitive predators from your primitive world." She looked at Nabi with hatred. "Your species keeps these beasts as companions. It is disgusting." Sumin felt anger rising in her chest, but she kept her voice calm. "She is not a beast. She is gentle and kind." "Gentle?" The alien leaned closer. "Nothing from Earth is gentle. Your whole world is a nightmare. Your people are emotional animals who bond with parasites and call it love." The soldiers behind her laughed. Sumin wanted to argue, but she remembered what Captain Yuna always told her. "Do not start fights you cannot win. Walk away from trouble when you can." "I am sorry you feel that way," Sumin said, keeping her voice steady. "We will leave now." She turned to go, but the alien spoke again. "I am Commander Velith of the Noravi Dominion. I did not give you permission to leave." Sumin stopped. Her hands were shaking slightly. Nabi, sensing her fear, pressed closer against her legs. "I do not need your permission," Sumin said quietly. "I have done nothing wrong." Velith's eyes narrowed. "You brought a predatory animal onto this station. You walk among civilized species with a creature that hunts and kills. That is an insult to everyone here." "Nabi does not hunt anyone. She is a companion animal. The Confederation allows them." "The Confederation allows many things that should be forbidden," Velith hissed. "Humans should never have been welcomed into galactic society. You are savages with advanced technology. Nothing more." Sumin did not respond. She just wanted to leave. She just wanted to take Nabi back to the ship and forget this ever happened. But then Nabi did something unexpected. The small cat, curious about this strange tall creature, stepped forward. She approached Velith and sniffed at the air near her leg. It was what cats do. They explore. They investigate. It meant nothing. It was innocent. Velith looked down at Nabi with pure disgust on her face. "It touches me," she said, her voice rising with anger. "This filthy beast dares to approach me." "She is just curious," Suman said quickly, pulling gently on the leash. "Nabi, come here." But before Nabi could move, Velith raised one of her armored arms. "No!" Suman screamed. The arm came down fast and hard. The blade-like fingers struck Nabi's small body with terrible force. There was a sound like breaking twigs. Nabi flew through the air and hit the ground several meters away. She did not get up. She did not move. Suman ran to her. She fell to her knees and gathered the small orange body in her arms. Nabi's eyes were open but empty. Her soft fur was already growing cold. Blood dripped from her mouth. She was gone. Suman heard herself making sounds she had never made before. She was screaming, crying, begging. "No, no, no, please, no. Nabi, please, please, wake up." Aliens all around stopped to watch. Some looked horrified, others looked away. None of them moved to help. Commander Velith stood over Suman, looking down at the dead cat with satisfaction. "Pest control," she said simply. "Consider it a favor. I have cleaned your filth from this station." Her soldiers laughed again. Station security arrived moments later. 3 officers in blue uniforms pushed through the crowd. They looked at the scene, looked at Commander Velith, and then stopped. Their faces showed fear. "Commander Velith," one of them said carefully, "what happened here?" "Nothing important," Velith replied. "A human's pet became aggressive. I defended myself." "That is not true," Suman cried, looking up at the officers. "She did nothing. Nabi did nothing. She just walked close to her. She killed her for no reason." The security officers exchanged looks. They were scared of Velith. She was a high-ranking military commander from a powerful species. They were just station guards. "I see," the officer said slowly. "We will make a report." "A report?" Suman could not believe what she was hearing. "She murdered my cat. She needs to be arrested." Velith laughed. "Arrested? For killing an animal? You Deathworlders truly are pathetic. Crying over a mindless beast." She turned to walk away. "Learn your place, human. You are guests in this galaxy, nothing more." And then she was gone, walking away with her soldiers, disappearing into the crowd. Suman stayed on her knees, holding Nabi's body. Tears streamed down her face. Her whole body shook with grief and anger and helplessness. Around her, aliens whispered and pointed, but none of them came to comfort her. None of them offered help. She stayed there for a long time. Then, slowly, carefully, she stood up. She removed her jacket and wrapped Nabi in it, hiding the blood, keeping her warm, even though warmth could not help her anymore. And then Suman walked back to the ship. Her legs felt like stone. Her heart felt like it had been torn from her chest. But she kept walking. She had to tell the others. She had to tell her family. She had to tell them what had been done. When she reached the horizon's edge, the first person she saw was Captain Yuna, standing at the entrance with a smile on her face. But the smile died the moment she saw Suman's face. The moment she saw the bundle in Suman's arms. The moment she saw the blood on Suman's hands. "Suman," Yuna said, her voice suddenly very quiet. "What happened?" Suman tried to speak, but only sobs came out. She held out the bundle toward her captain. Yuna took it gently, carefully, and looked inside. Her face went pale. Her voice was still quiet, but something in it had changed. Something cold and terrible had entered it. Suman finally found her words. Her name was Commander Velith, she whispered, and she laughed when she did it. Captain Yuna Park said nothing. She just stood there, holding the body of Nabi, looking down at the small orange cat who had trusted the universe and been betrayed by it. And in that moment, something inside Yuna broke. The ship was quiet. Not the comfortable quiet of peaceful nights, but a heavy quiet, like the silence before a terrible storm. The kind of quiet that pressed against your ears and made your heart beat faster. The crew of the Horizon's Edge sat together in the common room. Taewoo stood near the wall, his arms crossed, his face like stone. Junho sat on a chair, his hands folded in his lap, his eyes on the floor. Sumin was curled up on the couch, her face red and swollen from crying. She had not stopped crying since she came back. And in the center of the room on the table lay Nabi. She was wrapped in white silk now. Junho had cleaned her body, removed the blood, and made her look peaceful. Her eyes were closed. Her orange fur was soft and clean. If you did not know better, you might think she was sleeping. But she was not sleeping. She would never sleep again. She would never chase shadows, or beg for treats, or curl up on someone's lap. She was gone forever. Captain Yuna stood at the head of the table, looking down at Nabi. Her face showed nothing. No tears, no anger, nothing at all. But her hands, resting at her sides, were clenched into fists so tight that her knuckles had turned white. "Tell me again," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm, like water that looks peaceful but hides a monster underneath. "Tell me exactly what happened." Sumin took a shaky breath and told the story again. Every word, every detail, the insults, the laughter, the way Velith had looked at Nabi with disgust, the way she had raised her arm, the sound when it hit. And then she walked away, Sumin finished, her voice breaking. She just walked away like it was nothing, like Nabi was garbage. Silence again. Taewoo spoke first. "Do we know where she is now?" "Still on the station," Juno said. "I checked the departure logs. Her ship is still in docking bay 12. "Station security?" Yuna asked. "They filed a report," Juno answered. "But they said there will be no charges. Commander Velith is protected by diplomatic immunity. The Naravi Dominion has already sent a message saying the incident was justified self-defense against a dangerous Earth predator." He paused. "They called Nabi a threat." Sumin made a sound like a wounded animal. "She weighed 4 kilograms. She never hurt anyone. She never hurt anything." Yuna nodded slowly. "So there will be no justice." "Not through official channels," Junho confirmed. "The Confederation will not act against a Naravi military commander over the death of an animal. The diplomatic problems would be too great. We could file a complaint, but it would take years and probably lead nowhere." More silence. Then Taewoo pushed himself off the wall and walked to the table. He looked down at Nabi, and for the first time, something showed on his face. Pain. Real pain. He reached out and touched the white silk gently. "She used to sit with me," he said quietly. "On bad nights, when I could not sleep, she would just sit there and purr. She didn't need me to talk. She just stayed with me, so I would not be alone." He looked up at Yuna. "I am done talking about official channels. Taewoo," Junho warned, "think about what you are saying." "I have thought about it." Taewoo's voice was hard now. "We have lived by their rules. We have been polite. We have been patient. We have accepted being treated like animals because we did not want to cause problems. And what did it get us? They killed our family member and laughed about it." "Going after Velith could start a war," Junho said. "Then let it start. Millions could die. They should have thought about that before they touched her." Taewoo looked at the doctor with cold eyes. "I am not asking for your permission, Junho. I am telling you what I am going to do. You can help me, or you can stay out of my way." Sumin stood up suddenly. Her tears had stopped. Something else was in her eyes now. Something that looked a lot like fire. "I am with Taewoo," she said. "I watched her die. I held her while she died. I could not protect her, but I can make sure the one who killed her pays for it." Her voice shook, but not with sadness anymore, with rage. "I am done being afraid of what they think of us." Everyone looked at Junho. He was the calm one, the peaceful one, the one who always talked about finding better solutions. Surely he would try to stop them. But Junho was looking at Nabi, at the small bundle of white silk on the table. And slowly, very slowly, he closed his eyes. "When I was young," he said, "I had a dog. His name was Bomi. He was old and slow and not very smart, but he loved me completely. When he died, a part of me died with him." He opened his eyes. "I understand what this feels like. I understand why you want blood." He stood up and faced Yuna. "I will not stop you. I cannot stop you. But I need you to know what this means. If we do this, we cannot take it back. We will become enemies of the Naravi Dominion. The Confederation might turn against us. Humanity might suffer because of what we do today." Yuna finally moved. She looked at each member of her crew, one by one. Then she spoke. "When I was little, my grandmother told me a story. She said that humans became strong because we learned to love things that could not protect themselves. We protected our children. We protected our elderly. We protected our animals. And that protection made us who we are." She paused. Nabi could not protect herself. She trusted us to protect her. We failed, but we can still give her justice. She walked around the table and stood in front of her crew. "I am not ordering anyone to do this. This is not a mission. This is personal. If you want to stay on the ship and wait, I will understand. There will be no shame in it." No one moved to leave. "All right then," Yuna said. "This is what we are going to do. Suman, I need you to access the station's security systems. Find out where Velith is right now and where she will be for the next 12 hours. I want to know every step she takes." "Done," Suman said immediately. "Tewu, prepare our weapons. Nothing loud, nothing that will draw attention. We go in quiet, and we come out quiet." "Understood." "Juno, I need you to prepare the medical bay. There might be injuries. There might be bodies. Be ready for anything." Junho nodded slowly. "I will be ready." Yuna turned back to the table. She reached out and touched the white silk, feeling Nabi's small body underneath. "When this is over," she said softly, "we will give her a proper goodbye. We will send her into the stars, the way spacers have always done. She deserved better than this. She deserved a long life and a peaceful death. But she will have justice. I promise her that." The crew stood there for a moment, together, united. They were no longer just a cargo ship crew. They were something else now, something older and more dangerous. They were humans who had been hurt, and they were going to hurt back. Tewu went to the armory. Suman went to her computer station. Junho went to the medical bay. Each of them moved with purpose. Yuna stayed with Nabi a little longer. She knelt beside the table and whispered words that only the dead cat could hear. "They think we are animals," she said. "They think we are primitive because we love, because we feel, because we bond with small creatures who cannot speak. But they are wrong. Our love is not our weakness. It is our strength. It is why we survived a world that should have killed us. It is why we will survive this." She stood up. Her face was calm. Her eyes were clear. All doubt was gone. "You do not touch what belongs to a Deathworlder," she said, "and now the galaxy is going to learn why." 3 hours later, Suman had a full map of Velith's location and schedule. The commander was attending a diplomatic party in the station's upper levels. She would return to her ship around midnight, walking through the lower corridors to avoid the crowds. She would be almost alone. Tewu checked his weapons one more time. A blade, a silenced pistol. Sometimes, Hands were enough. Yuna put on her black jacket, the one she wore for difficult jobs, the one that had seen blood before. And then, together, they left the ship. The hunt had begun. The lower levels of Kethis 7 were different from the bright commercial districts above. Down here the lights were dim and yellow. The corridors were narrow. The walls were stained with years of neglect. Most aliens avoided these areas. They were used mainly by workers, maintenance crews, and those who did not want to be seen. Tonight, they were being used by hunters. Captain Yuna moved through the shadows like smoke. Her footsteps made no sound. Her breathing was slow and controlled. Behind her, Taewoo followed, equally silent. They had both trained for this kind of work, long ago, in a different life. The skills never really left you. Sumin's voice came through their earpieces, quiet and clear. Velith just left the party. She is heading toward the maintenance corridor on level 4. She has 4 guards with her. Taewoo. Not a problem, he replied. They moved faster now, taking shortcuts that Sumin had mapped out earlier. The station was like a maze, but Sumin knew every turn. She guided them perfectly, her voice calm despite everything. Turn left at the next junction, then through the service door. The code is 7721. Yuna entered the code. The door slid open. They stepped through into a long corridor, lined with pipes and cables. Steam hissed from vents in the walls. The air was hot and wet. She will pass through here in 3 minutes, Sumin said. There is a junction ahead where 2 corridors meet. Good place for an ambush. We see it, Yuna replied. They reached the junction and stopped. Taewoo pressed himself against one wall. Yuna took the opposite side. They waited in the darkness, not moving, barely breathing. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. Then they heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps, like metal striking stone. The Noravi walked heavily because of their armored bodies. Each step echoed through the corridor. Yuna held up her hand, counting down with her fingers. 3, 2, 1. Taewoo moved first. He came out of the shadows so fast that the first guard did not even see him. One moment the guard was walking, the next moment he was on the ground, his neck bent at an impossible angle. He died without a sound. The second guard turned, reaching for his weapon, but Taewoo was already there. A blade flashed in the dim light. The guard fell. The other 2 guards raised their rifles, but Yuna was among them now. She moved like water, flowing around their attacks, striking at joints and weak points in their armor. The Noravi were strong, but they were slow. They were built for battlefields, not close combat in narrow corridors. Yuna had trained her whole life for spaces exactly like this. In less than 20 seconds, all 4 guards were down. Commander Velith stood alone, her red eyes wide with shock. She had never seen humans fight before. Not really fight. She had thought they were soft, emotional creatures who cried over dead animals. She had been very wrong. You, she hissed, recognizing something in Yuna's face. You are from that cargo ship. You are here because of that beast. Her name was Nabi, Yuna said. Her voice was flat and cold. She was not a beast. She was family. Velith laughed. It was a nervous laugh now, not the confident laugh from earlier. Family. It was an animal, a pet. You cannot be serious. Yuna stepped closer. We are very serious. Do you know who I am? Velith's voice grew higher. I am a commander of the Noravi Dominion. If you hurt me, my people will destroy your species. Every human in the galaxy will pay for what you do tonight. Maybe, Yuna said, but you will not be alive to see it. Velith's 4 arms moved suddenly, blades extending from her fingers. She was fast for her species, and she was trained for combat. She slashed at Yuna's face, her throat, her chest. But Yuna was faster. She ducked under the first attack. She sidestepped the second. She caught the third arm and twisted it hard, Hearing the armor crack, Velith screamed in pain. Humans were Deathworlders. They came from a world where everything was trying to kill them, and they had learned to survive. Their bones were dense, their muscles were strong, their reflexes were sharp, but most importantly, their hearts were filled with something Velith could never understand: love, and the rage that comes when love is betrayed. Yuna struck Velith in the chest, sending her stumbling backward. She struck again, breaking one of the commander's legs. Velith fell to the ground, crying out in pain and fear. "Please," Velith gasped. "Please, I will give you anything. Credits, ships, protection. Name your price." Yuna knelt beside her. "My price is your life." "For an animal?" Velith's voice cracked. "You would die for an animal?" "I would die for my family," Yuna replied. "I would kill for my family, and tonight I am going to kill you." She looked up at Taewoo. He reached to his belt and pulled out a long blade. It was not a modern weapon. It was old, traditional, the kind that had been used for ceremonies on Earth for hundreds of years. He had brought it specifically for this moment. "Wait," Velith begged. "Wait, please. We can talk about this." "You laughed when you killed her," Yuna said. "You called it pest control. You thought she was nothing because she was small and soft, and could not fight back." She took the blade from Taewoo. "But she was everything to us. And now, you are going to pay." "The Confederation will never allow this," Velith said. "There will be consequences." "Yes," Yuna agreed. "There will be. But not for us." She raised the blade. "This is a message to every species in the galaxy, every government, every military, every being who thinks they can hurt what we love without punishment." Velith's red eyes were wide with terror. "What message?" Yuna looked at her without pity. "Touch our family, and we will find you. No matter where you hide, no matter how powerful you are, we will come for you in the darkness. We will take everything from you, and when we are done, we will leave your body as a warning to others." She brought the blade down. The sound echoed through the corridor, then faded into silence. It was done. Yuna stood up slowly. Her hands were steady. Her heart was calm. She felt no joy, no satisfaction, only a cold sense of completion. Justice had been served. Nabi's spirit could rest now. Taewoo stepped forward with a bag. They had planned this part carefully. A body could be hidden, a body could be denied, but a head sent a message that could not be ignored. Working quickly, they prepared what they needed to take. "Sumin," Yuna said into her earpiece, "we are finished. What is our exit route?" "Take the corridor north for 200 meters, then turn right. There is a service elevator that will take you down to the docking level. I have already disabled the cameras. No one will see you." "Good work." They moved fast, leaving the corridor behind, leaving the bodies of Velith and her guards. Someone would find them eventually, but by then the horizon's edge would be gone. 15 minutes later, they were back on the ship. Junho met them at the airlock, his face pale but determined. "Is it done?" he asked. Yuna nodded. Junho closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. "Then we should leave quickly. The station will lock down once they discover the bodies." "Sumin, prepare for immediate departure," Yuna ordered. "Already done, Captain. Engines are hot. We can leave in 2 minutes." The horizon's edge pulled away from Kethis 7, just as the first alarms began to sound. By the time security reached the lower corridors and found what was left of Commander Velith, the cargo ship was already jumping to faster-than-light speed, disappearing into the endless darkness between stars. On the bridge, the crew sat in silence. The bag containing Velith's head sat in a sealed container. It would be preserved until they reached their destination. Yuna looked out at the stars. They were beautiful as always, scattered diamonds on black cloth. "Where are we going, Captain?" Sumin asked quietly. Yuna did not look away from the stars. "To the heart of the Galactic Confederation." To the Grand Council itself. Taewoo raised an eyebrow. You want to deliver it, in person? Yes, Yuna said. The galaxy needs to see this. They need to understand what we are willing to do. They need to know that humans are not weak because we love. We are dangerous because we love. She turned to face her crew, her family. They called us emotional. They called us primitive. They thought our bonds made us easy to hurt. Her voice was hard as iron. Tonight we showed them the truth. And tomorrow, we will show the entire galaxy. The horizon's edge flew on through the darkness, carrying its crew toward destiny. And in the medical bay, wrapped in white silk, Nabi waited for her final journey home. The Grand Council chamber was the largest room in the galaxy. It had to be. Over 400 species sent representatives here to debate laws, settle disputes, and maintain peace across thousands of star systems. The chamber was built in the shape of a massive circle, with rows of seats rising up like stairs around a central floor. Each species had its own section, its own flags, its own translators. Today, every seat was filled. News of Commander Velit's death had spread across the galaxy in hours. The Naravi Dominion was screaming for blood. They demanded that the humans responsible be captured, tortured, and executed. They threatened war if their demands were not met. The other species watched nervously. No one wanted a war. Wars were expensive and destructive. But no one wanted to anger the Naravi either. They were powerful, aggressive, and they had a large military. The Naravi ambassador stood at the center of the floor, his red eyes burning with rage. He was tall and covered in black armor, just like Velith had been. His voice echoed through the chamber as he spoke. A crime has been committed. A commander of the Naravi Dominion has been murdered by savage Deathworlders. We demand justice. We demand the heads of those responsible. The chamber rumbled with whispers. Many species agreed with the Naravi. Humans were dangerous. Humans were unpredictable. Perhaps it was time to put them in their place. Then the main doors of the chamber opened. Everyone turned to look. Captain Yuna Park walked in, wearing a clean black uniform. Her crew walked behind her, Taewoo on her left, Sumin on her right, Junho bringing up the rear. They did not look like criminals. They did not look afraid. They walked with their heads high and their backs straight, like soldiers marching into battle. Yuna carried a sealed container in her hands. The chamber fell completely silent. Even the Naravi ambassador stopped speaking. 400 species watched as this small group of humans walked to the center of the floor. Yuna stopped directly in front of the ambassador. She looked up at him without fear. You wanted justice, she said, her voice clear and strong. Here it is. She knelt down and placed the container on the floor. Then she opened it. Commander Velit's head stared up at the ceiling with empty red eyes. The chamber exploded with noise. Screams, shouts, gasps of horror. The Naravi ambassador stumbled backward, his forearms shaking. Other ambassadors jumped from their seats. Guards rushed forward, but stopped when they saw the humans were not moving. What is the meaning of this? The Naravi ambassador roared. You dare bring this here. You dare stand before us after what you have done. Yuna stood up slowly. She let the noise wash over her like water, waiting until it began to fade. Then she spoke. 3 days ago, Commander Velith killed a member of my crew, a small cat named Nabi. She struck her with her armored arm and broke her body. Nabi died instantly. Her voice was calm, but it carried to every corner of the massive chamber. When my crew member begged for help, station security did nothing. They said Velith had diplomatic immunity. They said there would be no charges. They called it pest control. She turned slowly, looking at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. Nabi was not a pest. She was family. She was a small, gentle creature who never hurt anyone. She trusted the universe to be kind to her. and Commander Velith murdered her because she could. Because she thought no one would stop her. Because she thought humans were too weak, too emotional, too primitive to fight back. Yuna's voice grew harder. She was wrong. The Noravi ambassador pointed at her with a shaking arm. This is an act of war. You have murdered a high-ranking officer of the Dominion. Your entire species will burn for this. No, Yuna said simply. They will not. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small object. It was a collar, a tiny collar with a small bell attached to it. Nabi's collar. Junho stepped forward and placed the collar gently beside Velith's head. A small memorial, a reminder of what had started this. Then Yuna addressed the entire council. For 60 years, humanity has been part of this confederation. We have followed your rules. We have respected your customs. We have been polite, patient, and peaceful. We have accepted being called Deathworlders. We have accepted insults and suspicion because we wanted to prove we could be trusted. She paused. But this is where it ends. Her voice rose, filling the chamber. You call us emotional. You are right. We feel things deeply. We love our families, our friends, our companions. We form bonds that you cannot understand. And when those bonds are threatened, when the ones we love are hurt, we become something else. Something your species have forgotten exists. Something that survived a world designed to kill us. She pointed at Velith's head. Commander Velith thought our love made us weak. She thought she could hurt us without consequences. She laughed as she killed an innocent creature who had never done anything wrong. And now, she is dead. That is the price of hurting what we love. The chamber was completely silent now. No one moved. No one spoke. This is not a declaration of war, Yuna continued. We want to live in peace. We want to trade, explore, and grow alongside the other species of this galaxy. Her eyes grew cold. But we will not be victims. We will not watch our families die while diplomats argue about immunity. We will not accept that power protects cruelty. She looked directly at the Noravi ambassador. If the Dominion wants war over this, then come. Bring your fleets. Bring your armies. We will meet you. And when it is over, the galaxy will have learned a lesson that should have been taught long ago. She turned back to the full council. Touch what we love, and there is no treaty in the universe that will protect you. There is no distance far enough, no fortress strong enough, no army large enough. We will find you, we will reach you, and we will do what we did to Commander Velith. She let those words hang in the air. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The ambassadors of 400 species sat in stunned silence. They had seen many things in this chamber over the centuries. They had seen wars declared and treaties signed. They had seen empires rise and fall. But they had never seen anything like this. 4 humans, standing alone against the galaxy, daring anyone to challenge them. The Noravi ambassador opened his mouth to speak, then closed it again. He looked at Velith's head on the floor. He looked at the small collar with the bell, and for the first time, he understood something. The humans were not bluffing. He turned and walked back to his section without another word. His guards followed. The threat of war faded as quickly as it had risen. Yuna nodded once. Then she and her crew turned and walked out of the chamber. No one stopped them. No one tried to arrest them. No one even moved until the doors closed behind them. The horizon's edge left the capital system an hour later. No Noravi ships followed. No arrest warrants were issued. In the following days, the Dominion quietly dropped all charges against the crew. They claimed it was in the interest of galactic peace. But everyone knew the truth. They were afraid. Word spread quickly through the galaxy. The story was told in bars and markets, on ships and stations. The story of the Deathworlders who killed a commander because she hurt their cat. The story of the humans who walked into the Grand Council with a severed head and dared anyone to do something about it. A new rule emerged, unwritten, unspoken, but understood by every species in the Confederation. Never harm a human's companion. 3 months later, the Horizon's Edge docked at a small station in a quiet system. Suman walked off the ship with a smile on her face and tears in her eyes. In her arms, she carried a small black kitten. "What will you name her?" Junho asked, standing beside her. Suman looked down at the kitten. The little creature had bright green eyes and soft black fur. She was tiny, barely fitting in Suman's hands, but she was perfect. "Byul," Suman said softly. "It means star." Yuna watched from the ship's entrance. The pain of losing Nabi would never fully go away. It would always be there, a small ache in her heart. But life continued, love continued, and the crew of the Horizon's Edge would keep flying, keep bonding, keep loving. That was what humans did. That was what made them Deathworlders. Not their strong bodies or their sharp minds, but their hearts. Hearts that could break and still keep beating. Hearts that could lose and still keep loving. Hearts that could face the coldness of the universe and choose warmth anyway. Somewhere among the stars, in a small white urn that floated through the endless darkness, Nabi rested. They had given her a spacer's funeral, launching her into the void to drift forever among the stars she had watched through so many windows. And in some strange way, she was still with them. In every purr from Byul, in every memory they shared, in the promise they had made and kept. The galaxy would never forget what happened on Kethis 7. They would never forget what the Deathworlders did for love. And whenever an alien looked at a human with their strange companion animals, they would remember. They would remember, and they would know better than to touch them. Life among the stars went on, and the crew of the Horizon's Edge flew onward, together, into the beautiful and terrifying unknown. They were family,